It's WICR. WICR presents.
Good afternoon, Iona. Antonio Coppola, Matthew Brownstein back with you after a week off for spring recess. Matt, it's good to be back.
Antonio, how was your week off?
Hey, it wasn't bad. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't do anything crazy, but I hung out, relaxed. It was nice to have a week off from class. How about you?
Yeah, hung around, caught up some work. Worked also outside of school, so keeping up with sports though. And topic I really wanted to kind of touch on for a minute, if you don't mind, is the Mets announced their opening day starter. Now, usually I'm not one that goes all ballistic over opening day starters or leadoff hitters because we all know a leadoff hitter is only a leadoff hitter for the first inning. But when the Mets announced that Bartolo Colon, the soon-to-be 42-year-old veteran, is going to be the opening day starter against the powerhouse stacked Washington Nationals, who they're probably going to be looking up to this year, it's an embarrassment because the Mets preach that they want to have a new image. They want to have a new beginning to 2015. This is the year that all their young guns are coming back. Now, I realize Wheeler's down now, but you still have Harvey, DeGrom. You have all these guys coming back, and you're starting a 42-year-old, basically soft tosser who maxes out about 87 miles per hour, going up against guys like Harper and Zimmerman and Worth. I mean, give me a break. This guy tops out at 87 miles per hour. Look at his spring stats right now, Antonio. He's got over 7 ERA. He's given up 10 earned runs in 11 and 2/3 innings. They're batting against him 367 in spring training. Now, I know spring training is just spring training, but where's DeGrom? Where's Harvey? I mean, the idea that Cologne is starting opening day is just mind-boggling to me because of the fact that you want to change the image. It's not so much that it's the opening day starter, but it's the fact that the Mets never seem to understand and never seem to get it right for the fans, that perception means so much. And to me, you want to wipe away these 7 and 8 years of ineptitude, and you want to start fresh, and you're having a 42-year-old who now is taking over because Tom Glavine was the last oldest starting pitcher for the Mets, and now Cologne beats him out by about 150 days. So congratulations to the Mets for being the dumbest franchise in Major League Baseball.
And, Matt, I think the decision coming down from, I guess it was Sandy Alderson that made this decision, it's either about money or they're actually being cautious of Harvey because maybe when they come home for that first game of the season, the home opener, the weather might be cold and they don't want to mess with Harvey's elbow and throw him in there. But what really stood out to me when I heard about this was the fact that they mentioned that Harvey might pitch the second game, and right away I was like, okay, they're doing this for the money because the Mets have had these attendance issues throughout the past 5-10 years when they've been struggling. More so when they moved over to Citi Field, but I guess they're just trying to fill the seats. And if that's their priority, then shame on them because, like you said, they're starting a new era. It's a fresh start. They've got all these young guys that are great pitchers, and they're gonna go ahead and pitch Cologne. I know he won 15 games last year. They signed him to that contract. They're paying him, a good amount of money. But you don't even know if he's going to be on the team this year. This is a guy that, it could potentially be traded. So I'm with you on this. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, and they're starting opening day out in Washington, so they're going to be on the road. So how they potentially have it lined up is they have Cologne going up against Max Scherzer. Then you have DeGrom apparently going up against Zimmerman, and then you have Harvey going up against Strasburg. For the home opener, you have DeGrom, which I have no problems with. DeGrom deserved it. Rookie of the year last year came out of nowhere. Everyone was talking about Syndergaard last year, and then DeGrom came up and had a huge year. So my only beef with this is that you want to start off the year right. And listen, a lot is riding on Terry Collins because I'll tell you what, if Terry Collins is 5-10 games under 500 in May, he's gone. So why are you putting this amount of pressure on Terry Collins when you're starting a 42-year-old guy that's got a rubber arm against a stacked Nationals lineup, but going up against one of the best, probably top 5 pitchers in baseball, Max Scherzer, and you're going to throw Cologne out there? I mean, listen, Cologne did win 15 games to the Mets. I'll give him that last year. But the guy also did have a 4 ERA in a pitcher's park. So let's not go gaga over this guy. And I hate when people say, oh, well, you know what, you have to give credit to guys from last year's performance, so that's how you dictate, the next year's starting pitcher. No, that's bogus to me. Okay, Harvey is throwing gas down in spring training. Let's not baby this kid anymore, okay? He had 18 months off. Okay, that's usually 4 more months than a regular Tommy John surgery person comes back from. So Harvey's ready to go. Now, Harvey's saying all the right things and saying, well, Cologne deserves it. I'm happy for him, yada, yada, yada. But listen, deep down inside, Harvey wants to pitch that first game of the season. No questions about it.
It's funny because no, you're right. Harvey wants to. Harvey's been waiting to pitch for, like you said, over a year now, almost 2 years, and I think it's probably it's a big slap in the face to Harvey because of how he's established himself as a great pitcher, a rising star. He had the setback with the elbow injury, but you said he's throwing gas in spring training. He's been waiting so long to pitch, and I would feel disgusted if I were him. And it's funny because if you look on the other side of town at the Yankees, they're throwing out Tanaka opening day, and he's got a partially torn UCL, and we've talked about this week after week. He's a ticking time bomb. We don't know when his elbow is going to go out, and he's going to need the Tommy John surgery. But the Yankees are they don't care. They're just throwing him out there. So it just shows you the difference in management and philosophy between the Mets and the Yankees.
Well, they're in it to win it. The Yankees, every single year, no matter who they have on the roster, they're in it to win it. So Tanaka, like you said, he is a ticking time bomb. I do worry about him, as should every Yankee fan when he makes a start. Now, he did look good yesterday. He gave up a couple runs to the Mets, but he did strike out 7 in 4 2/3 innings. All his pitches seemed to be, locating very well. His velocity was, not too bad. And, Tanaka, obviously, Tanaka and Pineda right now are, 1 and 2. Because Sabathia, to me, is a distant 3, maybe even fourth pitcher on this team, depending on how well Nathan Eovaldi adapts to New York. But, you got to like so far what you've seen to Sabathia in terms of velocity. He's kind of been consistently in the 92, 93 mile per hour range. So, that's good to see at least. He's never going to be the Sabathia from Cleveland and Milwaukee where he was pitching 96, 97. He's got to rely more on, placement and his secondary pitches now. But you're right, Tanaka really is a huge question mark for this team. But the Yankees have no other choice because Cashman really didn't go out in the offseason. They didn't get any kind of starting pitching that they could have really developed. The minor league system does have a few guys that might be available later in the season, but more than likely in 2016. But Cashman did not want to go out and sign Scherzer. Did not want to go out and sign Shields. There were guys that were available, but I think he's kind of leery and scared off by all these big time contracts that have gone out to these pitchers that just haven't lasted and haven't worked out. Because pitching, giving guys that are pitchers 5, 6, 7 year deals, it's every year, Antonio. There's always someone that goes down or doesn't live up to the expectations, and we just keep saying, why do these owners keep doing it? But all you need is that one dumb owner. All you need is that one owner to, set the market price for somebody, and then that's where everyone else takes off. So if, Max Scherzer is making this, oh, well, then James Shields has to be making this. And then you set parameters for these guys where,
right.
Normally they wouldn't be making this kind of money.
We talked about injuries with the Yankees over and over and how that's probably, the biggest question mark going in. If they can stay healthy, they'll have a good year, at least in my opinion. But one thing we haven't talked about was that I completely forgot about is that they don't have a closer. David Robertson left. And
that's right. Went to the White Sox.
Joe Girardi came out the other day and said he might not name a closer until, they get into the season, which kind of scares me because, they had Betances, he's an all-star. He's up and coming young guy in the bullpen. But I don't know if he's ready to be that guy. I think the one thing they should have probably done in the offseason was go out and get a closer.
Well, who's still available? Who was an ex-Yankee is Rafael Soriano. He is still out there. So you could give him a 1-year deal. I know things were a little contentious early on. Cashman, did not want to sign him a couple years ago. But you're right. You don't really know what you're going to get out of a Dellin Betances or Andrew Miller for that matter. Dellin Betances though has a lot of what people think is Mariano Rivera in him because if you compare last year's Dellin Betances stats to Mariano's from '96 when Wetland was the closer and Mariano was the setup guy, very similar. And people are hoping and praying that this is going to be Betances' time to step up. But you're right; they have no clear-cut guy that's been proven and done it in the past. So that's you have to be a little leery about with Yankee fans as well, is that you don't know what you're getting out of the closer role. Now, it was smart that they did bring in Miller and then you have Betances. So you have two guys that potentially could do it. But there are still a lot of question marks on the Yankee team. That and also the hitting. You have to. You like what you see so far out of A-Rod. Let's give him credit. He's been hitting very well in spring training. But you have to worry about the health of Teixeira, Beltran, McCann. The second base position. Is Gregorius going to hit? You just signed Headley for a 4-year deal, which I think was a mistake. But you have a lot of guys on that team, and now Ellsbury has been out for the last week or so. These guys are the walking wounded. It's a lot of age on this team, and they have to start going younger. They really do.
I mean, it's funny because Cashman with these contracts, it bothers me. And it started back with CC, and you're seeing it now with his diminished velocity, his struggles. He's gone through injuries. Same with Teixeira. Obviously A-Rod. But it's almost like they're never going to turn the page until these guys are gone. But people thought, Derek Jeter left, it's a new start for the Yankees. It's really not, because if you look at the roster, a lot of the same names from years ago, even from before the '09 run to the World Series, they're still there. And I really don't think that the Yankees are going to fully turn the page from that, I guess, supposed era until these guys are gone. But I like the moves they made. You mentioned Headley, Gregorius. They're playing it safe. They're trying to get great defenders. And it's just a matter of can Beltran hit? Can Ellsbury put up the numbers? Can McCann not start off as badly as he did last year? Can Teixeira swing his bat and avoid a wrist injury? They're just banking on a lot of question marks, and that's ultimately what the season's going to come down to, whether these guys can stay healthy or not.
Yeah, and Vegas, for whatever it's worth, has the Mets actually having more wins this year than the Yankees do. I mean, just by about a win or two. But
I believe it.
They're very close. But if you ask any realistic and logical fan who's got a better projection going out 5 years from now, a lot of people are going to say the Mets. And I have to agree with them, not just being a Met fan.
No, yeah, I would look at. Just by looking at their rotation, it's almost like, wow, these guys have a lot of potential.
Absolutely, and you look at the minor league depth that they have coming up too. The Mets have some good young players coming up that are in AA and AAA. They're not too far away. Where the Yankees, they do have some good prospects, but they're more in the lower minor league system. So it's going to take them a little while longer to really develop and become something, if anything, at all. But I totally agree. I think the Yankees really need to start. If their minor league guys aren't ready, dig into the international markets, go into the Japanese markets, the Cuban markets, get some of these guys, because obviously the Cuban market has been working very well. You look at Cespedes, you look at Puig, Chapman, there are guys available that you can get, and all it takes is just money, which we know the Yankees have no qualms about.
Right.
But if they're going to rely on these aging veterans who are going to start breaking down sooner or later, and you already see that with Teixeira and Beltran, the Yankees are going to be in a lot of trouble. I really do believe that. And, this division is a little fickle this year, the AL East, which is going to be to the Yankees' advantage, because the Blue Jays had a big loss. They lost Marcus Stroman, who was going to be one of their top pitchers this year, Tommy John. The Red Sox, to me, they're still kind of up in the air, because there's no clear-cut number one starter on that team. They have a lot of number twos, number threes. I still think there's a potential that they could get a Cole Hamels type pitcher if they want to part with a couple of their minor leaguers. If that's the case, then they're the clear-cut winners, because they have enough offense and juice in that lineup to really power their way atop the division. But the Orioles, I feel like, regressed. They lost Nelson Cruz, they lost Dick Markakis. Tampa Bay, I feel, regressed as well. So it's going to be a battle probably between the Red Sox and Yankees again this season, but there's no clear-cut winner in that American League East division, and it's not the best division anymore like it was a year or two ago.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Years ago, we remember, the Rays were, an up-and-coming young team when they had David Price and the likes of those guys. Do they still have Evan Longoria?
They still have Evan Longoria, so he's like the one holdover.
Yeah.
Yeah. About the only guy they have left.
Yeah, Baltimore had that great year a couple years ago when they were hitting all those home runs and whatnot. Toronto, they made, was it 2 years ago when they made the Dickey trade, or was it last year?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, they made the Dickey trade. They signed Jose Reyes. They spent all the money. They kind of did what the Marlins did. And
they took the Marlins retreats. Because remember, the Marlins had traded for Burley and Reyes, and then they traded them back to Toronto because, but they took on the contracts.
Exactly, and the same fallout happened. The bottom fell out. They started out all right, and then the bottom fell out, and they never really competed for the division in the end. No, but I agree with what you said. I think it will come down to the Red Sox and the Yankees, as it usually does. I'm just hoping the Yankees can win the division. I mean, obviously, as saying that as a fan, but the wild card game just scares me. The Yankees haven't found themselves to be in that position yet. Same goes for the Mets, but a one-game play-in, it would just scare me.
I'll sign up for it.
As a Met
fan, I'll sign up for that right now.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's
scary
because at any given Sunday, anybody could win on any given day.
But thinking about it, the Yankees and the Mets, neither of them have even touched came close to the playoff. Well, I mean, the Yankees have been close, but they've never found themselves in a position to be in the playoffs since the new format started. So it'll be interesting. Did the Mets move the fences in this year?
They
again?
did. They did. They moved them in a little bit more. I believe it was right center. They moved in a little bit more where that Mo zone area is. Which should help out David Wright because he goes the opposite field a lot too. So Wright's shown some power too in spring training. I believe he's got about 2 or 3 home runs. Kadire too. Kadire I think has 4 or 5 home runs.
You know who's showing power, Matt?
Who's that?
My boy Chris Young hit 2 home runs
Lord.
against the Nationals
Bring up his
earlier
name.
in the week. I'm just throwing it out there. He was playing like garbage. He was hitting I think like 220, and then he comes out and hits 2 bombs. And I saw the highlights, and I just thought of you right away because
I
that's your
appreciate
guy.
that. Yeah, our garbage is your treasure. So,
yes.
not a problem.
No, in all seriousness, Chris Young is like an emergency. Once Beltran and all those guys start to go down, which hopefully, knock on wood, they're not. But no, he's emergency outfielder / DH, whatever you want to call him.
Are you worried at all about Ellsbury? Because Ellsbury has injury problems in the past. Now they say he's out for a week. But I mean, do you think this could be a lingering issue throughout the year?
I mean, I know he was hurt last year. I think it was an oblique. I'm expecting a big year out of him. So I'm
Had a
not
good year
gonna
last year for them.
Yeah, no, I'm expecting him, to play better, to build on what it was only his first year with the Yankees. I'm expecting him to build on what he started last year. But I mean, I hope he can stay healthy. He's got to protect his body, not do anything crazy. But I mean, injuries happen, especially with the Yankees. So it's just a question mark. I don't know how else another way to put it, how else to put it, but. There's other guys that come before Ellsbury that worry me more about injuries. Beltran's, one swing of the bat, he could pull something. He's so old now. He's like 38 years old.
He's 38 years old. But you know what, though? When he's healthy, the guy could still hit.
And they got him for the playoffs, Matt, and the Yankees haven't been in the playoffs. So that's another thing. Beltran, you watch him in the playoffs, he looks like a different player.
Yes.
The guy goes off. And the Yankees brought him in here to do that, and they haven't even reached the playoffs yet. So that's another thing that, has to happen. I want to see Beltran in the playoffs for my team. I'm sick of seeing him for the Cardinals and whoever, and he starts going off, hitting home runs in the World Series and all that.
Now, let me ask you this, Joe. I'm going to give you a couple names because I was wondering what your thoughts are about the 5th starter role for the Yankees. I'm going to give you some names. I want you to tell me yay or nay whether or not this would be a suitable guy for the number 5 role. All right?
Let's do it.
All right, first one, Esmil Rogers.
No. Nay.
Okay. Number 2 is Adam Warren.
I'm going to say yay because, he's shown something in spring training. I know Cashman came out the other day and said he could be the potential 5th guy in the rotation. Who else you got?
Well, we do have, you do have Ivan Nova coming back probably by July, so he's going to be slotted into that that rotation spot come then. But those are the 2 guys that I have currently, to be honest with you. The Yankees did sign Chris Capuano for insurance, but now he's out for the year, so you don't even have him available now. So it's really just Rogers and Warren. But at least with Warren, he's been with the Yankees for the last couple of years. He's made some spot starts. He's been a long reliever in the bullpen, so you kind of know what you're going to get out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the only 2 guys that I really see on this roster that, could be the 5th starter because, like we talked about, you have, Tanaka, Pineda, Sabathia, Evaldi, and then you have question mark. I'm guessing it's probably going to be Warren. I think you're right with that because I don't see anybody else on this roster currently unless, maybe a couple days way before the season starts, there's, guys that are hit the market or guys that, get released that you may want to take a chance on. But, I mean, if you're looking at this roster right now, I mean, it's all relievers right now. There's no one really else here. I mean, you have Nova on the roster for some reason, but I know he's out until July. But yeah, it looks like it's just Warren and it looks like it's just Rogers, who both really haven't been that appealing. But I guess just if they can give you 5 innings and then turn it over to the bullpen, the Yankees will take that.
Yeah, it depends how the season, how they start out, how they progress. But it's funny because baseball is almost the one sport where teams almost the trade deadline is like an opportunity for them rather than an emergency. Teams will literally plan and say we're going to start out with this and we're going to see what happens, and once we get to the All-Star break we're going to see and look to make a move if we're struggling. A lot of moves, pitchers, stuff like that tend to be made towards that deadline, and I think the Yankees could definitely use that as an option. And same goes for the Mets. If the Mets need a bat, I'm sorry, but they're gonna have to trade one of their guys. I think it'll probably be Dylan G. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that. We mentioned a couple weeks ago the whole Reyes thing. If the Mets can somehow get Reyes back to fill that shortstop void, to be a leadoff hitter, they would have to give up, a young guy to Toronto.
He would be perfect. I mean, getting Reyes back in this fold would be great. But you know what? I'll tell you one thing. Flores has not looked bad at shortstop. I'm gonna eat a little crow here. Flores, and actually I was listening on the way in to Evan Roberts on the Fan with Benigno and Roberts, and he was saying the same thing, that Flores has been hitting very well in spring training. His lateral movement's not bad either. Again, he's not going to be Cal Ripken out there, but he's going to get to the place he can get to. You have to live with that. A lot of the pitchers that you have on this team are also fly ball pitchers on the Mets, so you're not going to have to worry too much about up the middle. As I just want him to be able to be a cutoff man, get to the place he needs to get to, have an accurate arm, which he does, and if he can hit me about 270, 280, and hit 15, 20 home runs, I'm satisfied with that. But again, it remains to be seen because we haven't seen him play a whole season at shortstop. We've only seen him play spurts here and there, the last remaining months of 2014. So. But yeah, I mean, if there's a chance to get Reyes back, obviously, I think you have to make that deal. But although with Reyes comes injury concerns as well. But I think a lot of that has to do also with the AstroTurf that he's been playing on in Toronto.
Yeah, he hates that field.
Yeah, for sure. But you're right. They do. I would feel more comfortable right now sitting here as a Met fan if they had another bat on this team for sure. Because while we can say Kadire and Wright look fantastic in spring training, it's spring training. So a lot of these guys they're facing are AAA guys or guys that are going to be sixth, seventh starters that are going to be held down in the the bullpen. So once these guys start going up against real competition, that's when it's really going to be safe to say, okay, David Wright's back, okay, Curtis Granderson's back, or Duda's for real, because the Mets have a lot of potential with these guys, but it's really just converting that into actual major league games and seeing how they do in April and May, which are going to be two very, very imperative months for them. Because like I said before, Antonio, these guys start off bad. I keep my fingers crossed that they don't, but if they start off bad and they're 5-10 games under, Collins is gone, and that's when you're going to hear the Wally Backman chants again. And I'm telling you, I don't think Wally Backman's going to be the manager of this team. I don't think he's a Sandy Alderson guy. Mm-hmm. Sandy Alderson has been known that he wants a guy that runs his way, his ship. And Wally Backman, from his personality, what we know of him from the '86 team, is that he is a free and loose guy who's not going to take much criticism or much hierarchy stuff from the front office. He's going to run the way he wants to run, not the way Alderson wants to run.
I think it's a little early to start thinking about potential replacements for Terry Collins. Honestly, the Mets, they have a strong rotation. They've made a couple moves in the offseason, and I think we just got to be patient and wait. Matt, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit of NBA, maybe get to the NFL and talk about what's going on in the owner meetings. They're discussing a lot of rule changes, and I want to throw some stuff back at you and get your opinion. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.